Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to the show our co-host, Christy Piddock from Pack Your Pixie Dust. How you doing, Christy?
I'm well. I'm tired today. How are you?
Kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
And we are
boat. See? Boat. Say boat.
Exactly. You got to keep it cruise related, right? So we are going to go back in your deepest memories to pull out your trip report, which was way back in June, and talk about your double dip.
Okay. I mean, we are long overdue. We are recording this towards the end, on the first day of fall. Yay, fall. Welcome, fall. So, yeah, we'll have to see how good my memory is. I do have a few notes from the trip, which will be helpful.
Okay. Well, let's just throw this out there. Kind of talk about why you guys like double dip so much.
I like doing nothing. I really do. The idea, that Castaway Cay is my absolute favorite place anywhere. Just doing nothing there and just having a relaxing beach day with all of us playing and having fun is so much fun to me. I absolutely love it.
That was something that we really looked forward to on our last cruise, because the majority of our cruises, we go. And I'm looking at our stuff coming up, and our next cruise is going to be kind of relaxing, but we've got a lot of go cruises. So I totally appreciate what you're saying as far as, just kind of relaxing on a 4 or 5 night cruise.
Yeah, and this is our year of Walt Disney World with our annual passes. And now, for whatever reason, Blake is all of a sudden decided he wants to go all day, which good for him, which also means now, though, his parents have to go all day instead of taking many breaks like we used to. And so I liked the idea of just doing less. In my working life, I do a lot for a lot of hours, and I get tired. So it's my time to do nothing. So
it's a true vacation from a lot of different things. Well, and we say double dip for people who don't know what that means or maybe new to the podcast. Why don't you explain what that means?
Yeah, the double dip means 2 stops at Castaway Cay, which is Disney's private island.
And currently the Dream is the one that usually does it. Does the Fantasy ever do anything like that?
They have done it a couple of times, and actually next year, November, they are doing it. They are doing a 5-night double dip, because the next year the Dream is going into dry dock, and so the Fantasy is doing a bunch of shorter cruises and just different cruises and different itineraries, sort of picking up what the Fantasy or what the Dream does. For whatever reason, they have this one-off 5-night next November. I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice. So in kind of planning for it, in your cruise, it was a 5-day. The itinerary, you guys left out of Port Canaveral, went to Nassau, and then you went to Castaway Cay 2 days. And then you were at sea, which is awesome. I love that. And then you're back at Port Canaveral. So you had that sea day after your 2 days at Castaway Cay, which, man, if you can find that for us, our family, I love that. Just to be able to relax a day after your day at Castaway Cay and not have Castaway Cay be your last day where you're out on the beach and then you come back, you got to pack frantically, and then get off the next day.
Yeah, that's, to me, the biggest disadvantage of the Fantasy is that that's the schedule. And so this is great because you really do get to, you've done stuff on the beach and you might be relaxing, but you're still sitting outside all day, running around and playing. And if you're your family, you're doing all kinds of activities. And so it's nice to have that day where you're literally not running back to the ship so you can pack.
Okay. So let's talk about this cruise and maybe just Castaway Cay in general. What are some of the things that you do ahead of time to plan as far as things that you might bring with or as far as what you guys plan to do in Castaway Cay? Maybe talk a little bit about the cabanas and booking those.
The reservations ahead of time, you would do your Apollo reservation if you want to do that for brunch. They obviously your adult dining dinners, and if there's any where you sign up to do the mixology and stuff like that. So you would set up for all of that stuff ahead of time. What we of course did is we wanted to get cabanas. And I will say that just so people know, it used to be where if you booked a concierge cabin, you were basically guaranteed a cabana. And that is not the case anymore. So I think the Facebook groups are actually making everything more competitive. So the Facebook groups in general, just all kinds of Facebook groups, are so wonderful for information and for planning. But then they're also bad in other respects because A, there's misinformation being given out to them in them all the time. And then B, people are learning all the things to do, like send your email to the concierge host at the date you're supposed to do it, but you do it at 12:01 a.m. so that they get it in time, and then the concierge make your reservations 5 days later. But everybody knows that now. And there's like 40 some concierge cabins and 20 or 19 or something like that, family cabanas. So there are more cabins than cabanas.
So you guys sailed concierge on this one. Were you guys successful in getting a cabana?
We were. We almost weren't successful, though. Like, we freaked out a little bit because for whatever reason, I have my Pixie Dust email account. I cannot email Walt Disney World, and we have gone through a million different IT departments, and I kind of forgot about it because I knew I couldn't email Adventures by Disney because sometimes for clients, they'll make me email them. But I just forgot about it. And my husband sends the emails at midnight, and it came back as undelivered. And so they didn't actually get it to the next day. I called first thing in the morning, and we sent it, but I called first thing in the morning. They went back through and then I literally had to send screenshots of the time that we sent the email that it just didn't go through because it was rejected as potential spam or something like that. And they put me in line based on that screenshot. And even still, I got like my fourth choice, I think, of a cabana. So them putting me in line still put 4 people ahead of me.
Wow.
And that was at 12:01.
Wow. So Facebook group's good because you're learning a lot of information, but bad because you're learning a lot of information and you can keep up with everybody else now and learning all the little tricks and tips and stuff like that.
Right. So people just have to know, and I'm not trying to be like, woe is me, we didn't, with the cabana, but people just need to know it's not guaranteed. I will say, though, the price has gone up significantly. We did book a cabana for both days. My mom was with us. She really likes doing them, being in them. My son really likes them. But on our next cruise, we might do one of the other excursions during one of the days. So we might do feeding of the stingrays or something like that while we're there. And if we do that, we won't book a cabana that day. In the summer, there is a premium. They charge extra for cabanas. It was like $750, I think.
Wow.
A day. And I got the bill, and I was like, ooh, that's painful. And of course we planned for it, and it was fine. And we don't spend other money doing other things on the cruise. Like, really, we have a very small bill at the end of our cruises besides our gratuities and stuff. And so that's just what we add in as the price of the cruise. But, man, it really is making me really rethink the double cabana day on the next double dip cruise.
So maybe spend a day kind of just enjoying the island, going out. I mean, Blake's getting bigger now, so, you got Pelican Plunge and do some of the things like that, and then have the second or the first day be a relaxing day with the cabana.
Yes, that's what we're thinking.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the cruise itself. So I guess we'll touch on some of the highlights and everything else. You guys leave out of Port Canaveral. You're super familiar with that. Anything about leaving or getting to the port this time?
No, it was easy.
Okay. Well, and you guys are on the Dream. You've been on the Dream a ton of times. Kind of talk about where you guys booked and a little bit about concierge on the Dream.
So we booked a family veranda cabin, so not one of the 1 bedrooms. And one of the reasons we did it for this cruise was because we knew we wouldn't necessarily be in the cabin very much. And with it being the middle of summer, because this cruise was at the end of June, and it led right up towards the 4th of July. So we disembarked on July 3rd. So we knew it was going to be hot. And that meant, frankly, I wasn't going to be on my balcony that often. We knew it was going to be hot. The concierge rooms are always forward, which I very much dislike, but that is where they're located. We like to book on the same floor as the concierge lounge. And with that comes like a heavier continental breakfast. And then they'll do snacks and sandwiches and some like desserts and treats and stuff in the afternoon. They also provide popcorn, so we can get bags of popcorn at any time throughout the week. They have evening happy hour, but it's happy of 5 hours. It goes from like 5 to 10, and they can get you most mixed drinks and things like that. And I think some people order mojitos and some different drinks like that. They have that, and then they have some a little bit heavier appetizers, but still sort of snacky appetizers because everybody on the Disney cruise, unlike at a hotel, is going to dinner. So that's what the lounge provides during the day. They also have the concierge host, where there's 3 of them that interchange throughout the day. They each have different hours, and they'll assist. Plus, there's a waiter and a bartender. The bartender comes in the evening. And then there's a waiter in there that just helps refresh the food, or if you have food allergies like myself, they'll get you things from the back and stuff like that.
What deck is the concierge lounge on?
It's deck 12 forward.
Okay. And then all of the cabins are forward up in front like that?
Yes, on the Dream and the Fantasy. On the Magic and the Wonder, the lounge is like deck 10 or 14 or 12, something like that. It's like, I think it's deck 10 actually. The cabins are all on deck 8 in different locations.
And I guess a good thing to point out is the Dream and the Fantasy were actually built with the concierge lounge in mind. I believe that all of the concierge services on the Wonder and the Magic have been retrofitted, so they put them back on after, or they built that after they built those ships, right?
Yes, so they had concierge, they just didn't have a lounge.
Okay.
And the lounge is a huge difference. That, to us, we love it. We love the space, the little extra hideaway space of going there. And for us in the morning, for example, like my husband likes to sleep a little later, and Blake and I wake up and we're like ready to go, and just we're awake. So Blake always wakes me up. We've talked about this before. And then he and I will sneak away to the lounge, and he can drink his cup of milk. And they have a TV where they play those Mickey Mouse shorts. Mm-hmm. The new Mickey Mouse.
I love those.
Oh my gosh, I know, everybody does. And all the kids are in there just like staring. It cracks me up. Everybody is like little children comatose watching the screen. And they don't have the volume on, so that's really nice. So it's not disruptive to everybody else, because I don't know, I don't always love to hear cartoons all the time. And so it's kind of nice that if you're trying to have a nice adult experience, you're not hearing cartoons in the background too. But the kids are still mesmerized. They just think it's the best. They have coloring sheets in the lounge. The concierge hosts are really into engaging with the kids, which is really nice as well.
So it's almost your private little kids club up there.
Well, yes, except you can't leave your kids.
Right.
I mean, when the kids are older, they're there unattended. But yeah, no. But they do really entertain. They do a good job. They really interact with the kids. It's really cute.
I mean, I think that would be the huge value of being concierge. Before the Magic of the Wonder had the lounge, just being concierge and having your room, I guess, is something. But to me, having the lounge, like the Haven on Norwegian, I forget what Royal Caribbean calls theirs, but it really makes me wonder when the Wish comes out, how they're going to utilize that space. I can't wait to see what they do with it.
I know. I'm so curious. And I am already saving all my pennies, because it's going to cost all of the money in the world to get in there.
Well, talking about the rest of the cruise, then, anything stand out this time as far as food goes, dining, or some of the shows that you guys got to see, or what did you guys do on the ship?
I did get to eat chicken schnitzel.
Nice.
Everybody knows that's my version of escargot that Steve's absolutely loving. So the 3-night and the 4-night on the Dream basically have the same menu all the time. And for the 5-night, they pull out just another menu from, the longer cruises, and we got chicken schnitzel. I was so excited.
Is that a last night thing?
I think it was maybe the 4th night, because I think the last night they did the See You Real Soon menu.
Gotcha.
Which is going to be the same See You Real Soon. It's like, get off our ship. We don't really actually care if you like our food or not menu. Am I the only one that doesn't love that menu? I just cannot find stuff I'm really that interested in eating on it.
Yeah, it seems to be like the menu that, like you said, they're kind of winding things down for that cruise. So, stuff that's simple and easy to make that night and get people on their way.
I will talk about one thing. When we boarded the ship, I had to go and get my mom's scooter. She uses a electric scooter on the ship. She's got some knee problems. And I went down to get it for her. And the line for the dining change, like the dining room change line, wherever you go to say, oh, I wanted first seating, or I wanted second seating, or I wanted this to be my first night's dining, whatever. It is on the 2nd floor. At least it was on the Dream that week. That line was nuts. There was, and this would have been at about 12:30, 1 o'clock. I went down there. So I went down there at the end of our lunch. And the line was so long. They had 2 very long lines basically to get people to change their dining. One other rando fact about this cruise, I did ask them about the Be Our Chef that they do on the Fantasy that our listener Frank did.
Uh-huh.
They said they did a trial and it failed. So that's why I guess it's only on the Fantasy.
Huh. I wonder what was different. I mean, what would be different about the ships?
Maybe because of the longer cruises, people feel like they have more of that expendable time.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, when you're kind of jammed in a 3-day cruise, maybe they don't have as many people that are interested in doing something like that. I don't know. Or maybe it's just tough on them to be able to do that over a 3-day cruise just because they have so many people coming through the restaurants and maybe they can build it in. It's easier to build in on a longer cruise.
Right. I have another random first day thing that we did differently this time than other cruises. So the boys wore, and by boys I mean my husband and my son, wore their swimsuits on the cruise. So we packed properly so that they could wear that as their day's clothes. They went right on the slides after we ate lunch.
Oh, nice.
So he went, Blake liked him, but he does not like to stand in line for stuff. So he never went back on it. And they did like some swimming and different stuff like that. And they had a good time.
Has he done the aqueduct yet, or?
Well, yeah, so that is one of the ones he did.
Okay, awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's overly scary for. I mean, once you actually ride on it, I don't think it's overly scary. But I could see where some younger kids might be a little tentative.
Yeah, and he was always so tentative until this year. He also did the yellow slide for the first time.
Oh, cool. That's the Mickey slide, right?
Yes. Yep. The Mickey slide.
That's awesome. Any tips as far as getting on board with your suit and just being able to spend time at the pool up there? Anything that you guys else that you brought with, or any tips about it?
No, I mean, we sunblocked them. So that was kind of it.
Okay.
Just wore their suits. It was so easy. Oh, and I think we had my son's water shoes so that he can run around the deck. He had those in our bag too, so that we could just swap those out for him.
Okay.
As opposed to his regular shoes.
Any other random thoughts before we talk about the shows?
No.
So Beauty and the Beast is on this, or is on the Dream. Did you guys see that, or what did you guys see, or any other random shows besides that one?
Yeah, so Beauty and the Beast was on the last night, which is weird, right? A little bit. And so we had packing and last minute shopping. So there was a little bit of all of that to deal with. So I went with my mom. Dave had already seen it with us. Blake wasn't going to see it again. He wanted to leave early the last time. It was packed as usual. So people, you got to get there early if you want to get a seat, and or you want to get a seat with a bunch of people. I like it. I think it's good to see, but this is not a see more than one show for me, really. I don't think. It's just dark. I like happy. I like happy. I like the happy version of Beauty and the Beast. So people are going to love it. The people next to us, actually, they left too. So I don't think I even finished the sentence, but we left. There was maybe 20 minutes left, and my mom was just like, I'm good. And I'd seen it, so I was fine. And then the people next to us wanted to leave at the same time. So they were just like, yeah, it's a little dark. We wanted to pack, whatever.
That's tough having it on that last night. I mean, it's kind of like the marquee show. So,
right.
and having that last night, there's so many other things going on that last night. Well, I guess they probably, like the see real soon in the lobby and some other different things. But yeah, that's a lot packed into the last night.
That's what I thought. So that was it for that. Then the other sort of quote unquote entertainment activity that we experienced was the Match Your Mate. Dave and I went to that. We had a little date night one night, and man, that is so funny.
I love that show. Have you ever been on it? Have you ever gotten up there?
God, no. I am willing to share a lot of information. There's almost nothing you could ask me on this podcast that I wouldn't answer, but I am not doing that on a cruise ship full of a bunch of people that I'm going to see again. And especially related to that personal content. That is some girls' night kind of content, not let's tell a room of strangers. But it was hilarious. But we played it. So we, at our table, got out a little pen and paper, and because we were sitting way in the back, and we were answering the questions.
I've never thought about that before. That's actually super fun.
It was so fun. Yeah. And there was a couple that came and sat next to us, and they were newlyweds. They had got married on the ship. I tried so hard to get them on our show, but they did not contact me. But they played too. It was so fun. So we were just like in the back because we were in like the very back corner and we just played along.
Wow, that we're gonna do that on the next because I'm like you. I would get up on some of those contests, but yeah, that's one that I don't really want to get up on.
And like one couple had either their in-laws with them or their parents, or so. I was like, what? No.
I would do Know Your Family. I think that my youngest really wants to do that. So we're going to try and get up there on the next one with him because he's kind of a character. So I think that would be fun. But yeah, with Anawik and I don't think either one of us would feel comfortable being up there. I think part of it was it is so funny usually, and the hosts make it that way, I guess. But some of those couples up there are just funny, the way they interact.
Oh, for real.
And I don't feel like we would be that way. Like I don't want to get up there and be a dud.
You're so cute, always being worried about stuff like that.
It's kind of sad, isn't it? Anyways, so kind of moving to the kids club, did Blake go to the clubs this time or anything about the kids club this time?
He did. So on the Nassau Day, so I guess one point just on the Nassau Day, that's when they did the princess meet and greet. So all the little girls that go, or boys, all the kids that go and stand in the lines to meet the different princesses where you go from one to another. That occurred on the Nassau Day. They also had a lot of open house time. So they always have where they'll have, on a port day, they may have one side being open and then the other side be closed for programming. I love that about Disney Cruise Line, that you can pretty much for an entire day keep your kid and secure programming in the kids club all day long. And that is where Disney is heads and tails over their competitors, because every other cruise line closes for meals and or has limited hours and or charges you in the evening. But Disney keeps that place open. Now, they may only have half of the club, so either the lab or the club open, but it will be open for an entire day. So they had open house time, and there was a couple of things that we thought Blake would like to do. So we took him to that. Like, I went to the open house for a little bit, and we did some of the different playing. I don't remember why we went now, but there was something we thought we would go and take him to. But then Dave and Blake did Jedi training.
That's cool.
Yeah. Dave said it was a little hokey. So if you are a person who cares about that kind of thing, just know it is not. I don't think it's even as good as Jedi training in the parks. So I think that's important to note.
And this isn't the one where Darth Vader comes out, right? Because they do like Jedi training down there. Because I think we watched that on day one when we were on the Fantasy. That on the first day they were kind of like teaching the kids. I think like BB-8 comes out and they do some things like that. But it was nothing like what they do, like you're saying, in the park.
It's not like the Star Wars Day at Sea either.
Yeah,
Jedi training.
Yeah,
it is much smaller, and I don't know if anybody comes out, honestly. I went on a walk for 30 minutes during that Nassau Day, and just a reminder to all the people that want to do that, they usually close down part of the walking track for maintenance, which is deck 4, and the back end or the front end, one of the ends of the deck was closed. So you would typically do a loop in a certain order, and they prevented you from doing that. You could not go all the way around. So just something for people to remember.
Okay.
And then for the kids club, one other day we took them. My mom took them to do a craft, and it was so funny because I was like, there is going to be a race car experience, but you guys have to leave before because he's going to want to stay and do that, and we don't have time. And I don't remember what it is that I needed Blake. I think maybe I wanted to take a family picture or something. I don't remember what it is I needed him to not be in the kids club for, but wouldn't you know it, they stayed for the race car.
He got sucked in.
They loved it. So the craft was to make, I don't know, they made angel wings or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Blake really enjoyed it. And then he did do closed programming in the kids club at one or two other times during this trip. So he has really increased his desire to be there. But the race car driving thing, apparently, like, they bring in, I feel like it's something they pay for. It's not regular cast members. This would be like when you have Marcus coming on the ship to just do something. So it is like a particular event that they bring somebody in for. Because we had to leave early to go to whatever it was we had to go to. I was like, I don't know that Blake's going to get to do this racing. Is there another time we can come back for? And there was not. And so basically it was like you made race cars out of soap. Bars of soap. And they like etched away little things, and they put they used nails for the with the wheels. So they had wheels that were like with a nail. I'm not explaining this well, but whatever. The little kids make race cars, and people were like super into it.
Like in Cub Scouts, they do soapbox derby. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. So something kind of like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's getting older, so he's definitely feeling more comfortable. It can be pretty chaotic, I guess, in those clubs. So I guess he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable about being in those situations.
Yes. And then we took him one other time. This was the last C day, and he did the so you think you can cook that they do there, and just like we had referenced on the show before, they made cookies. But he loved it. He said it was great.
I think that's a great tip. I know we've talked about it a lot of times. If your kids are a little nervous about going to the clubs, if you can find those moments where they have special things going on, like making cookies or building race cars or whatever else, I think it's easier for them to go in at those times because there's kind of like groups of people doing the same thing. I don't know. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, it is, because I would think that it would be a little intimidating if you don't have a sibling or there's not a friend who's on the ship that you're walking into this kids club with, to just know what you should do and who to play with and what to play. I would be a little bit, I think, nervous about that.
Yeah. So if you have a kid that's a little bit hesitant or a little bit more timid or shy or something like that, maybe try those kind of events out first and see how they do, or those can kind of help lead them into wanting to spend more time there, I guess.
I agree.
So, okay, well, let's talk about the ports. Did you guys do anything in Nassau? Did you get off the ship?
No.
That's
the day they did the Jedi training, and I went for a walk, and so no.
No, it's okay. It seems like that more and more, over half the people on the ship seem to tend to not get off, it seems like, just listening to the people that have come on our show. So, well, then on to Castaway Cay. You guys are there for 2 days. You guys had a cabana. Which cabana did you guys have, and what did you guys do on your days in Castaway Cay?
We had Cabana 14, and we did a whole lot of nothing. And it was lovely.
How was the weather? Nice?
It was gorgeous. So I ate at the Cookies One, which is by the beach and the kids club drop off, the beach where all the stuff is. It's like the nearest to where you would barges or whatever that place is called. Uh-huh. We asked for a golf cart to take us over there. Man, that's nice. Like, they come and pick you up and just scoot you right over to basically as close as they can get to that food area. I don't know. That was pretty nice.
When I fly, when we get back to Portland and everybody's like going home, we have to take a bus to get over to the employee parking lot. And for those whose significant others come and pick them up, we call it Princess Pickup. So it sounds to be like kind of a little bit of a princess pickup. You got your golf cart that picks you up right off of the ship almost and whisks you over to your cabana.
And it was like that, and it was lovely. And actually, so if people are going to cruise in concierge and they have a cabana, you can actually ask for a golf cart to pick you up from in front of the ship and take you to the cabana. And so we did that too. It was pretty awesome. So, but I talked to one of the cast members. The cabana or the golf cart drivers are cast members that live on the island.
Okay.
So, and this was obviously before the most current hurricanes that have swept through, but they love it. They love living on island. There wasn't like a ton of time to talk, because there was one time where we had a really full golf cart, so I had to sit up front with the driver. So I only got to talk to him the one time.
You guys get out to your cabana. What kind of remind people what's included with a cabana?
So unlimited bottled water and soda. Then they'll also get you milk. Like if you have a little baby, they'll get you and the people next to us had this, a pack and play. So we had this before when Blake was a baby or younger, or smaller toddler, where he could take a little nap in the cabana. That was pretty cute. So there's one of the concierge hosts, and then there's usually one other random person that works it. And then there's a bartender as well that works the beach, so that if you want a mixed drink or, what are those buckets of beer or whatever people drink for the day at the beach, there's a little button you can push and the waiters will come and ask your drink order and bring you a drink, which is kind of nice. They usually have like a couple of bags of potato chips and a couple of random granola bars. They also include sunblock. So there are buckets of sunblock, and they have sand toys. And that would be the one thing, if you weren't going to be in a cabana and you had a sand playing age child that you were taking to Castaway Cay, take your sand toys with you. Or, I mean, and I don't find them to be ridiculously priced. They have some cute sand toys that they sell that's like $20. So that they sell on the beach. So you can always plan to get that instead and then bring it back for the next trip.
Yeah, that's a good tip there. I've seen those sand toys at the stores, and like you said, they're not crazy expensive or anything like that.
One of the things we also did this time, so I like to shop and see the different stuff that they sell at Castaway Cay that they don't necessarily sell on the ship. And there were a couple of pins, because I just started the whole pin trading and I guess I shouldn't use the word pin trading because I don't intend to trade them with anybody. I do pin collecting so that I can have the pins and stare at them myself. So because we had the 2 days there, when you buy anything on the island, you have to pay the Bahamian tax. If you buy something on the ship, there is no tax. And if you are a gold member or above and or you use your Disney Visa, you get a discount on your ship purchases. I think the Disney Visa, you have to spend more than $50 at a time. I'm not entirely sure. And that discount can change. So just make sure you look into that before you cruise. But for sure, if you are a gold member or above, you get 10% off on your purchases on the ship. So there were a couple of Castaway Cay magnets or pins that I wanted. I saw them on the island. I looked at the stuff that I was considering buying, and then in the shops, they also sold some Castaway Cay pins. So the ones that I could buy on the ship, I did to save myself money.
That's a nice little tip. Also, if you're a DVC member, you can use your DVC discounts in the ship as well. I'm not sure about Castaway Cay, but yeah.
There are no discounts on Castaway Cay.
Okay, yeah, which is what you just said. I was listening. I promise I was listening.
It's fine.
But yeah.
Yes, but you can't use DVC. You can't use your others. And I forgot about the DVC. So definitely do that. Oh, and this time, because we were DVC, this was our first cruise DVC. By the way, you get a little magnet when you cruise in your DVC. And if not, you can go and pick it up. I forgot my magnet on the inside door that I had placed it on inside our cabin. So that's sad. I'll have to get my next one on my next cruise. But you could also stop at the DVC desk and pick up a hat.
Yes.
Or whatever their gift is at the time.
I was just listening to another podcast. They said they give out a gift every day if you're a DVC member. So like either
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really stopped by there.
They scanned it, and they were basically like, here's your one gift.
Okay. Yeah.
And they even said they scanned your DVC card or your Sailaway card. I don't remember. They scanned something. There was scanning of a card that occurred. And you have to be a blue card DVC holder, I believe. So there are some resale people that have bought more recently that do not qualify for Blue Card, and I don't believe that they get that benefit.
I'm a pin collector as well, too. I like getting the pins from the different cruises that we go on. So, like, when we get to the Mediterranean, I get a Mediterranean pin that's, just specific for that cruise, and we've got a Castaway Cay pin, too. So I like that idea that you've got, too. So I need to figure out a way to put them up so you can when I redo our office, I want to put them up somewhere so we can see them.
There are boards you can buy on Etsy that are kind of cute.
Of course there are. I should have known that.
Yeah, what can't you buy? So just don't get it to. I bought a couple of different ones, and mine are too small. So make them bigger, and or just go buy any kind of cork board. Like I had bought, I think it was a cork trivet. Is that what those things are called? That you put a hot pan on your whatever. I bought one of those at IKEA a while ago, and Blake has just started pin collecting. And he was like, I want a board like you have. Where am I going to put my pins? What am I going to do with them? So I had this IKEA cork trivet that was circular, and I gave it to him, and he absolutely loves it. So people could do stuff like that.
Well, anything else about Castaway Cay then as we kind of wrap up your cruise?
No, we love it. The time goes by so fast. We don't even know where the time goes.
Well, we just had, Micah and Kim on their what was it, 13-day transatlantic, and they couldn't do everything in 13 days, so yeah.
Right.
Well, so what's next for you guys, cruise-wise?
So the next cruise is Celebrity Edge. We're going back on her in February, but the next Disney cruise is the November Double Dip on the Fantasy, because I like a double dip, and it's been a while since we've been on the Fantasy, so I wanted to go back.
Oh, that's going to be kind of cool. We love the Fantasy. I'm not sure when we're going to get back on her, though.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for you because you're so far away.
Yeah, she needs to come to the West Coast. I'm telling you, they need to swap.
She
the
might
Fantasy
once
out.
there's new ships.
I know. Well, I thought we might have a little bit of fun to touch on a couple different topics that have come up recently. I don't know if they're quick topics, but a couple topics before we kind of finish up the show.
They will be quick because I have to go.
Yeah, so do I. Going back to the concierge thing. So we're listening to Jim Hill, and they brought up two different things that I think is kind of interesting. on his show with Len recently. And one, he's talking about the Wish is going to have more concierge rooms on board, which is kind of like a no-brainer. There's a huge market for that product. And there's obviously, as the ships have been built, if you just look at the deck plans, from Norwegian to Disney, and Disney's not the only one that does this, where they have way more veranda cabins than they do inside cabins now, because they can charge a higher. People want the verandas, but they can also charge a higher price point for that than the inside cabin. So,
I mean, even Carnival, if you look back at some of their ships that are from the 90s that they're still cruising on versus the ships now, they had like no verandas. And you had to be in a suite to have a veranda cabin. But now 90% of their ship is veranda cabin.
Yeah.
And by the way, the podcast we're talking about is the Disney Dish with Jim Hill.
I love that podcast.
I do too.
So much good information. I don't know how they get their information, but it's awesome. Anyways, look for that on the Wish. I'm sure that she's going to have a ton of, not as many inside cabins as she does verandas, obviously. So, and then the other thing that they were talking about is the idea of a Disney yacht, because I guess that's been floated around. Ritz-Carlton has a yacht collection. What do you think about a Disney yacht, Christy?
Oh my God, I would love a Disney yacht. I think there are a few people there. We have a friend of the show that I think would like a Disney yacht. And I think there's a market for this. And I might be alone in that thinking, but I think there's a market for this. I have clients that cruise Disney all the time because they trust it and they like the background music. This is one of the things, Steve, that they can easily do. There is something to be said for walking out of your cabin door and listening to Disney music. It is actually one of the things I love about Disney Cruise Line the most. The hallway music requires no money and no thought, and it is something that makes the cruise so special.
So I'm gonna take this on just a totally weird tangent from another podcast I just listened to, and one of the things that they remarked about Galaxy's Edge is the fact that there's no background music. It's just noises. And for this person, she's very musical. It made the land feel lifeless. But man, if you go to any of the hotels around Walt Disney World or down at Disneyland, you're on the cruise ship with that background music, you're right. It just adds something to it. And I think that's a huge reason why it feels like home to a lot of people when they come on board those ships.
No, yeah, for real. And actually, sometimes when I'm working on something, I will listen to the resort loop from a different hotel, or maybe it's the Wilderness Lodge or whatever resort I feel like listening to at that time, just to have, or general Disney background music, just to have a little bit of that while I'm trying to get something accomplished.
So we went on a weird tangent there, but I totally agree with you.
I was listening to that same podcast.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one. What was it? I don't remember. But
it's Mousetalgia. They usually cover Disneyland stuff. I love that show. So. Because we don't get very much Disneyland stuff.
There are sounds, though, in Galaxy's Edge. Like, they have where it'll sound like something is landing or taking off, or like market sounds, or it's not dead quiet.
No, and I think that's what she was saying, just because it isn't music and it's just noises like that, like the ship's landing or whatever else. And I think that kind of felt soulless to her a little bit. It was just kind of an interesting comment. Wow. So, Mousetalgia. Yeah. and to her credit, she said there is music, and I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet, but there are places where there is music. But let's swing back around and just kind of finish up talking about this yacht kind of business. Yeah. I think you're exactly right. I mean, working in the airline industry, we are not the airlines as much as people talk about first class, and we do not fly in first class. I would love to fly in first class, but I mean, those are not generally there's a whole market outside of the airlines where people travel in much more luxury. And I think that adding yachts or a yacht to start with could do a lot of different things. One, it's a price point that Disney's been targeting, to be completely honest, from the parks to ABD to a lot of the different experiences. So, there's obviously a market there for them to tap into. And we were kind of talking before the show, there is a ship called One World, I believe, and then National Geographic has smaller ships, and they were both in Portland over the last year. So having a yacht like that, you could go to much more varied itineraries all around the world, a lot of different other places that people would like to see. I know that, one of the comments that we get all the time is like, why you don't get off on NASA? I've been to NASA 100 times. Why do I want to go to NASA again? And I'm not picking on NASA. It's just a reality. If you cruise on 3-day sailings on the Dream, that's where you're going to go. And so a lot of people want to go to different places. And I think that there's definitely a market there for it.
I agree.
I was kind of all over there, wasn't I?
Yes, you were.
But it lent throughout some money too. It was kind of interesting. I mean, for 2 people on a Southern Caribbean on a 7-night, the low end for the yacht was $6,100 per person. And he was kind of comparing it to the Wonder offering a Southern Caribbean 1 bedroom, which would be quite a bit bigger than the yacht's bedroom, but that was $5,150 per person in concierge, trying to kind of equate, Disney's concierge to what it would be like on a yacht. So for whatever it's worth, there's some numbers for you.
Yeah, that's pretty comparable pricing. I mean, you'd have to really look at that itinerary. If I was 2 adults looking to do a higher end cruise experience.
Right. But if they went to some different places, think about all the different ports and different islands that they could go to. It would be interesting to see them do it and see what kind of demand they get. I think they'd fill it.
I do too.
Kind of an interesting idea. Well, I guess as we finish up, any other fun topics you want to talk about before we finish up today, Christy?
No. I'm just going to go with no.
I'm glad you guys had another wonderful trip on the beautiful Disney Dream in your favorite double dip. I'm sorry it's taken so long to get this out to everybody.
Yes. And, we promised that we would keep our trip reports for our regular podcast feed and not put it on the Patreon site. And part of it, too, was we have so many shows recorded, people that wanted us to record, and that this just kept getting pushed aside because we were like, oh, we have this guest on, we're going to record with them instead or whatever. So, yeah, I'm glad we were able to get this done as well.
Definitely. I guess as we kind of finish up, thanks for coming back on, and we will see you guys soon.
Bye, everyone.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. I hope you enjoyed that look back with Christy and I as we talked about her double dip cruise on the beautiful Disney Dream this past summer. Just a magical cruise that I know a lot of people out there love doing. Just to be able to go to that island twice, just a great opportunity. One of these days we're going to do it, and I hope you get to do it as well. If you would like to come on and share your experiences with us, you can do so. Go ahead and reach out via email to me, Steve at DCLpodcast.com, and we can talk about your recent cruises with Disney Cruise Line. Or if you've been on Adventures by Disney, we love talking a little ABD as well. In the show notes, you can reach out to Christy, myself, Steve, and Chris. I'll leave a bunch of links there to reach out to us via either Facebook or Twitter or email as well. So between now and our next show, if you guys are heading out on your next vacation, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on that next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.